my question for you today is, how much do you want it? How much do you want to experience yourself in an elevated state of consciousness, in your joy, in your bliss, living a life you fucking love, because that's available to you, because suffering was never your true identity? How much are you willing to fight for this new timeline, for this self that is emerging beyond all limited versions of yourself? When I say you've got to fight for this, I don't mean you're fighting the force of life or that you're fighting God, but you will likely be having to stand against those feral, dying aspects of your egoic consciousness that will try and convince you that fear is the way, that comfort is the way, that complacency is the way, that you can't do it, that you're not deserving of it, that you're not worthy of it. All of these old stories are being purged and purified from the individual and collective subconscious right now. All of these old ancestral patterns, stories, rhetorics, these ingrained ways of being, they're in the field, they're in our fascial tissue. We are so used to operating from limitation and scarcity that as our souls urge us to evolve and expand, all of those outdated, limited, archaic programs are going to fight to remain in place, because they are all attached to the ego structure, and the ego wants to survive. That's its only real impulse is to survive, because it's attached to the physical body and the 3D. So its whole role is around survival. And so the aspect of you that is liberated from all limitation, the aspect of you that is actually urging you and sending you the impulses to evolve because it knows what's possible for you in this incarnation and beyond, that aspect of you is the aspect of you that you now need to embody as, in order to be able to face all of these limitations and, fear-based stories, and not get lost in them and not drown in them, because there is so much content within ourselves and in the world that is loud and it's compelling, and it's, it's like a feral animal being backed into a corner, and it's lashing out, and it's drawing so much of our attention, so much of our energy into it, whether that is like physically on the world stage, all the world's a stage, and isn't that the truth? Even within ourselves, these aspects of our identity are like putting on a real show right now to try and distract us from evolving, to try and keep us stuck, safe and complacent in these very limiting egoic structures that have been habituated generation after generation after generation through the ancestral lines, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime through our religious and spiritual programming. This is the lifetime where we break free. This is the lifetime where we expand. This is the lifetime when we become the conscious pioneering nodes of God's source. So you've got to fight for this. How do you fight in a way that is not antagonistic and reactive? You have got to expand your capacity to be aware of the fact that these stories are arising, that lots of emotional content is arising, that your subconscious is being purged right now, and that you are not that content. So it feels like a fight, because it's almost like the waves, within the mind and in the emotional body are rising, and it's like being thrown around in the ocean. And it feels really tough to keep our head above water when we're dealing with this much change, flow, Shakti, dynamism, contrast. I say it over and over again. What do we need to do in the holy marriage dance when there's a lot of Shakti? We need a lot of Shiva. If you're dealing with a lot of content, overwhelm, emotion, noisy mind, crazy life experiences, everything feels like it's a lot for you right now. What do we need to do in those moments when we are experiencing a lot of energy, Shakti, our feminine consciousness, our feminine energy? We need to expand Shiva. We need to expand the container. We need to expand our awareness. We need to rest as the awareness that holds energy in motion, the consciousness that holds energy, the consciousness that just precedes and holds space for life. That does not get so lost in the dance of life that we forget that we are not our emotions, we are not our mind. There is just this distinct sense right now that we're on a precipice. We really are in the birth canal of this new world, of this new earth architecture. Like, it's happening right now. Amidst all the chaos and the disillusion and the disruption, the new world is being birthed. While one system and paradigm and way of being crumbles, another is simultaneously being born. It's messy, it's confusing, it's disorientating, and yet we came here for this time. And if you're on my channel and you resonate with my work and you're in my soul fractal, you're likely receiving a soul impulse that is inviting you to expand in such a way where your current trajectory or the old trajectory, the old timeline is too painful to stay in. It's too limiting. You are finally getting to the point where it's felt like confinement, but that confinement is now painful to rest in. Before, you could rest in the complacency and the comfortability of it. You could sense that it wasn't quite right, but it just wasn't quite painful enough for you to move. Now it's like boiling frogs, right? You just feel the heat and you can't stay in it any longer. You're being brought to a boil, and you're being given all of these kind of potential obstacles, and you're being poked and triggered and all of those really raw, tender spots, because life wants you to move. Life wants you to evolve. Your soul wants you to evolve. Your soul knows that there's so much more for you. You know there's so much more. You feel it. You want it on some level, but you also fear it because it's the unknown, because you are at a pioneering edge right now. You are the pioneering edge of your lineage. You are the pioneering edge of God consciousness incarnated through a very unique individuation that you are. That's the case for all beings. We are on this precipice, and we're trying to hold that tension between honoring the disillusion and honoring what needs to die versus making space for and nurturing what is being born through us. It's such profound alchemy taking place at this time. And our awareness, our capacity to observe, our capacity to rest as spacious awareness, as presence, in our presence, to actually recognize that we are no one and that there is nothing, that we need to be able to rest in the I am. It is the only medicine, in my opinion, that is an antidote for the level of dynamism and content that's arising as we move through these changes. You've got a lot of Shakti, you need a lot more Shiva. So you really have to ask yourself, if you're where I am right now, big update to come on my situation, you've got to ask yourself, like, how much do you want it? Because you may well be oscillating between empowerment, joy, feeling what this new timeline is bringing in, the joy, the pleasure, the expansion, the excitement, the inspiration, the passion, the potential, and simultaneously then you might be oscillating between, limitation, fear, doubt, uncertainty, disempowerment, hopelessness. Which wolf are you going to feed? That old prophecy, right? Which wolf are you going to feed? The wolf of fear or the wolf of love? It really feels like that right now. We've got to decide which timeline, it's not even which truth. At a subjective level, they're both true, but at an objective level, you are love, and you've come here to embody in and express as love and as the most loving, exalted version of yourself. So there really is only one truth to honor. That's the truth of the soul. Everything else eventually is going to become too painful to stay in anyway. But we do have to, I feel that there is a real fight, might not be the right word, but we've got to meet this time, which is challenging at a human level. And if people say it's not challenging, or there is no challenge, or there's nothing going on, they're probably not in their bodies in a conscious way. A lot of people are dissociating at this time. It's a lot to remain lucid in a body and feel what's happening within ourselves and in the collective right now. And to stay embodied. Many people leaving their bodies at this time as well. A lot of death, a lot of transition, because it's a big moment on Earth. So we're not necessarily fighting ourselves, but we are having to really cultivate a sense of self-authority, authority in the truth of the true self, in the true self, as the true self. Not egoic authority, like the presence that, you know, there is no competition between the true self and the ego. Cultivating and really anchoring in that presence. That is not one thing. That is not one identity. It's not one role. It's not one version of ourselves that we're just hanging on to and gripping onto. It's all our allness. It transcends all of this. It transcends every emotion, every thought, every possible identity, every possible expression or form. We've got to really claim that presence and that state of consciousness now. How much do you want it? How much do you want it?